our composure toward the political landscape that we're facing right now. With me to direct this dialogue, we have Jean-Marie Olivier and Louis Harry that will participate in this dialogue. Where can we take our community forward if we focus on the right issues? Right now, we have immigration issues. Every single Haitian has a brother, a sister, a family member, a friend that is in hiding or that is very scared to step out of the doors because of the TPS cancellation for about 350,000 Haitians in the US. We have to take this matter seriously. We have to approach solutions to this problem differently than in the past. And we have to take at heart what's necessary, what's important for the progress of our community. Again, my name is J. Jean-Louis, and I welcome you on Time Out 360. If you'd like to support this podcast, don't hesitate to go to YouTube, to Facebook, like, share, follow, so that we can grow this channel every day and more people can get this information from us. Thank you for being with us today. And I'm going to welcome my colleagues, Jean-Marie Olivier and Harry Lewis on the platform. Bonjour Lewis, welcome on the platform. Jean-Marie Olivier, welcome on the platform on Time Out 360. Bonjour Lewis.
I think you're mute. You're still muted. Bonjour tout le monde. Nous bien content que nous là matin ensemble avec nous. Et approchement et président GIA, il parlait de guerre culture. C'est un bagage qui est très important pour nous-mêmes parce que bien de fois nous votons, nous mal voter. I want to excuse myself first for speaking Creole before the senator comes in, but I just want to make sure that our community understand what we're about to talk about. Culture, guerre culture, c'est que nous-mêmes, nous approcher bagaille différemment. Nous avons sentimental, nous avons une série de bagailles qui pas bénéficier nous en pile bagaille et nous sommes en position que nous réagissons. Le président parlait et tout à l'heure là, président, alors c'est l'ennemi du président, c'est bien sûr le président HADC, Haitian American Democratic Club. Jean parlait a fait connaître que et de la nouveauté pour une série de bagages qui pas fait sens et qui pas mener communauté à aucun côté. Il doit bon pour même individuellement, mais communauté à Jean-Noël en pétrin que nous y parce que depuis nous marrer l'on grain et il pas marrer depuis qu'on y a non, il commence à marrer depuis 2016. Nous-mêmes nous pas fait choix nous et depuis 2016 nous fait mauvais choix. Il y a monde qui te dit la champion communautaire, nous est côté champion communautaire, menez-nous parce que depuis nous marrer l'on grain soulier. Professeur Harry, bienvenue sur Tamar 360.
Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Jay. As we just mentioned, we're going to introduce the show in our language, Haitian language, so that they understand what we are about to cover. And once the senator gets on, we're going to switch to English. So I just said that so that the senator can be aware. So même Jean et Olivier fait chose dit là, c'est qui très simple. Nous pas qu'à dire qu'on réellement t'es mal voté, ça dit chaque monde voté Jean l'idée dire. Nous qu'à dire que en fonction de votre ouais qui résultat qu'on joigne. Donc en fonction de résultat qu'on joigne là, sûr et certain il y a pile dans nous qui changer vote nous même j'ai en pile à faire dans la communauté par là et en pile dans nous pour aller et faire différents choix. C'est ça que fool me once it's on you, fool me twice is on me. Depuis ou tromper mon traiter mon première fois c'est fort tout parce que m'bat qu'on t'a pas le tromper. Mais sous trompe ou faire promesse champion communautaire toute qualité bagaille etc. et mal voter pour ou tromper kounya là ou pas sous tromper mon deuxième fois mal voter pour encore ou bien voter pour partir là encore, ça veut dire que qu'on y a la faute là, c'est pas ou même encore, nous, c'est moi-même qui dois égarer, car voter pour encore, quoi, dans mon petit côté bon, première fois. Donc, nous-mêmes qui dans la communauté à pas oublier, tout ça n'a pas l'air par aucune importance, sous par numéro 1, registre tout vote, numéro 2, et ou bien ou registré pour qu'à vote by mail, ou bien on make sure early voting qui a commencé semaine prochaine si Dieu veut dans Florida, ou bientôt que le jour vote là ou aller. Si pas casse ballot ou si pas voter, pas plein. Parce que c'est de vous pas voter, sur l'autre monde nous va voter pour vous. Donc nous-mêmes nous et make sure que ou motiver toute femme, toutes amis, spécialement moun lakayo, surtout jeunes yo, motiver yo, OK, moun nan travail yo, moun tout côté qu'on connaît tout ça c'est voting power. Nous pas craser, nous pas briser, plein par rapporter, comprendre, ça rapporter réellement c'est par voting power ballot ça qu'on a déposé. Make sure que nous tout le monde qu'on connaît rempli devoir civique qui se vote là, c'est comme ça nous changer situation nous plus facile.
Thank you, Lois, for the introduction, and this is a great pleasure of mine to welcome on the platform Mr. Former Senator Darrell Jones, where we'll have a discussion, a dialogue on the different culture wars that are going nationally and also in Florida, and what is the possibility of turning Florida blue. Senator Darrell, welcome on Time Out 360. We're happy
for having me, Jay.
It is a pleasure to have you, Senator Darrell Jones, on the platform 360, and you're also on 1580, which is a radio station, Haitian Creole radio station in Miami. Just before we start, Senator Jones, tell us a little bit of your background, who you are, and so the community will understand who we have on the platform.
Well, I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi. I graduated from the United States Air Force Academy. I was a fighter pilot in the United States Air Force, flying Air Force and F-16s. Decided to go to law school at the University of Miami back in 1987. I graduated in 87 from Miami Law. Served with a federal judicial clerkship with Judge Peter Fay in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals for a year, and then flew for 1 year with the Puerto Rico Guard, and then came back and flew F-16s with the Homestead Reserve. I'm a retired Air Force colonel. I spent 12 years in the Florida legislature from 1990 to 2002, 2 years in the House and the last 10 years in the Senate. I was involved in reapportionment, congressional and state reapportionment in 1992 and in 2002. And I consulted on reapportionment, which is drawing the districts that congressmen and state representatives and state senators are elected from. I also consulted with that, with the reapportionment group in 2022 as well. So the most recent one, actually the most recent one that was legal, not the one that was midterm. And so I've seen quite a bit as it relates to that. And I think I'm optimistic that we have an opportunity now to make some gains as Democrats in the Congress and even in the Florida legislature as well.
Yeah, that's, I could say you're a native Floridian, if we all understand that perfectly well. So you understand the landscape of what's been taking place, because you've been in the legislature since 1990 to 2012, so 2002. So it's a very good time when the Democrats were in power, I would say, right?
The Democrats were in power when I entered in 1990. We turned purple in 92 and then red in 94. So I got to see the transition.
The transition, okay, which is, and hopefully we're looking forward for the transition to go back, because we've been under the Republican stage, Republican power for over 25 years, I see. How do you see our Haitian community, because you have been in the area of South Florida, you understand our community, I would say, very well, growing up in the state of Florida? how do you see our community? Because, there was time, I would say, there were not Kendrick, that was Mrs. Mix. She was our representative in Miami. And we had, when the time come in the 70s and 80s, because I came in the 80s, for the Haitian to start being a citizen to vote, because if you're not voting, you're going to be on the menu. So nobody is going to take care of you. How do you see the community at large, the Haitian community and the Haitian American community at large in the state of Florida?
I see the Haitian community as being a very strong contributor to the state of Florida and to our country. We've seen many gains in the community, many elected officials who are Haitian. Everybody goes through their ups and downs, no matter what community you're from. The Cubans did, of course, African Americans did, starting back from the beginning of this country. And so the Haitian community has come here and has done an outstanding job at making the presence known and becoming entrepreneurs and becoming legitimate taxpayers who are entitled to good representation, both in Florida and throughout the rest of the country.
Senator, we thank you for your service. I'll have a multifaceted question. First of all, I would like to know which district geographically did you represent in Florida? Did it include a lot of Haitian? And 2029 is coming up, and this is going to be the 225th anniversary of Haitian independence. You know the contribution that Haitian has made to this country, from fighting in Savannah and helping Americans acquire Louisiana to double the size of the United States. But right now there's a game being played in the cultural wars, where they know the Haitians are very religious, so they are playing the LGBTQ game with them. So how do you think that we Haitian can capitalize on our historic contribution, and also how to avoid being trapped in the culture war?
Well, that's a really interesting question. First of all, you asked about my district. I represent the South Dade area and all of Monroe County, which is the Florida Keys, both in the House and in the Senate. My Senate district was larger. It went from Key West all the way to Liberty City in Miami. So through downtown Miami and north of downtown Miami. So it was a fairly large district geographically. The Haitian community, my district was well divided and extremely diverse. Blacks and Haitians were about a third of the district. Hispanics, which included some Cubans, but a lot of other Hispanic Americans other than Cubans were about a third. And then the district was non-Hispanic white as well, about a third in the Senate. And so my staff and I had to be responsive to the entire community. I think that the Haitian community in particular, as I said before, is an industrious community, really wants to make its mark here in the United States. I got to know a lot of my constituents who were very motivated entrepreneurs, and who really wanted to make a contribution in the community to better their own lives and the lives of their friends and families. And so I was very motivated and impressed by that kind of an attitude. It's great to see. Before I was elected to the Florida legislature, my wife and I had the opportunity to go to a restaurant at a table, one of the Japanese restaurants where you have 8 or 10 people sitting around a table, and they cook the food in front of you on a grill. And at that table, before I ever ran for office, there were 3 other couples. One was non-Hispanic white, one was Haitian American, the husband was, and the wife was from the Caribbean islands. And the third was a Cuban couple, and then me and my wife. And all 3 of those couples were celebrating having become millionaires in America, and they were very grateful for having being able to come to this country, to explore the opportunities that were available in this country, and to take advantage of them. It was at that moment, and I was the only non-millionaire sitting at the table at the time, I said to myself, wow, you know, people who are not from this country see such great opportunity here, while sometimes people who are living here don't see all the opportunity that's in front of them and don't always reach out and grab it. And so I've always been impressed with our immigrant communities, and especially the Haitian community.
And Senator Jones, I would like to maybe shift a little bit on a different aspect. We know in the past elections, most recent elections, there has been a couple of issues on the forefront, like LGBTQ, like abortion. Now, for maybe 2028, we'll hear a lot about communism. We'll hear about Democrats being communists, you know, baby eaters and things like that. Like, for example, we'll have sports issues, cultural wars in levels for who can participate in sports or not. How does these issues not only compare with the real issues like the cost of living, and how does this affect us in terms of changing our vision? How do we focus on the real issues instead of the cultural issues?
I think America is beginning to do that now. The cultural wars are techniques used primarily by the Republican Party to distract you from the things that are most important: the economy, whether or not you're going to be able to feed your families, whether or not you can progress as a family and as a community. Those are the things that are really important. What a lot of times the other side will do is try to rile up emotions by talking about the LGBTQ community, trans athletes, which, you know, trans athletes are there in some cases, but that's something that affects less than 1/100% of the population. So it's not that important. What affects more than half the population are things like education, economic opportunity, crime, and things like that. And sometimes in culture wars, the president has tried to claim that an entire group of people are all criminals, with no proof that that's actually true, whereas most immigrants don't commit any crimes at all. And the rate of crime among immigrants is actually lower than it is for citizens in the United States of America. And so by talking about that and bringing up one or two examples, you can rile up bias, prejudice, and hate in people, and get them to actually vote on things that are against their best interests by bringing up culture wars like that. And so you raise a really good question. We can dive as deep into that as you would like to, but I want to give you a chance to respond.
Yes, that is great, because as you mentioned, it is a distraction. And that's how we have seen what I could say happens to even within our community, because we get to be taken by that distraction and not voting for our real interest, because right now we get to find the person that says he's going to be the champion of the Haitian community. He's throwing 350,000 out. Right. So how would you define, as you mentioned, distraction, other ways of spotting or identifying what cultural wars is all about?
Well, I want to back up just a moment on one thing and then answer that question. I do want to say that when it comes to a woman's right to choose whether or not to carry a pregnancy to term, Roe v. Wade, the way it was interpreted and ruled upon in the courts prior to the last decision that the Supreme Court made on that issue, basically giving states the right to change the law that existed in the United States for more than 40 years. That is not a cultural issue, but that is an issue that is extremely important to so many people in America. And Jay had kind of included it in with the other things there for a moment. And so that's while it is an issue that does rile up a lot of people on both sides of the argument, I don't view that as a cultural issue necessarily. Now, how do we pay attention to the things that are important and avoid getting wrapped up in the cultural issues? I think, I'm a math guy, and I ask myself, does this affect more than half the people who are involved, or only a very small segment of the people? And so the way I looked at it was, if it affected more than half the people in their day-to-day lives, then it was something that was important to take a look at. The economy, healthcare, things like that. But welfare reform was something that only affected a small portion of the people, less than 10%. But yet it became a major issue as dictated by the Republicans, who grabbed the airwaves and talked about it in the 1990s and even beyond. So I think the first thing is, does it really have a direct impact on you? I've noticed in my time in politics that the only time cultural wars can really grab hold of our community is when everything is going well economically. When a Democrat comes in, like Clinton did in the 1992, and really boosted our economy, like Obama did in 2008, and like as he moved forward on the economy, when those things are happening and everybody is beginning to prosper, and we're not thinking about how to make it on a day-to-day basis, then cultural wars are that third or fourth level tertiary issue that nobody cared about when you were trying to fight for feeding your family. But now that that's taken care of, you have time to think about those other things, and they will make you begin to dislike and hate a group of people in order to get you to vote the other way. And we shouldn't allow that. We should be a country that cares about other people. We're a nation of immigrants. We should care about everyone who happens to come into our borders legally, and to do everything that we can to support and help grow that community.
Senator Jones, this administration is not the first one to play around with less important issues and get people to really focus on them. It has been the same way with Mike Dukakis, with Willie Orton, the tugboat with John Kerry. So what makes Republicans so good at distracting the voters and getting them to ignore the most important issues for least important ones? And why can't Democrats do the same? Because usually Democrats are fighting for really bread and butter issues. And according to a recent poll, they have found out that Democrats have moved kind of away from the working class and also working class issues. When you look at the Haitian community, we ignored deportation, immigration to vote on abortion only. The churches, the pastors, the Catholic priests, everybody was saying vote Republican because of abortion. How can we become that good so that we can make people really care about the important issues in the Democratic Party?
The Republicans are really good at what I call the mind game. They can get others by talking loudly and frequently about something that doesn't matter. They can get you to respond to that and to focus your attention on that and to spend your airtime on that. One of the pieces of advice that I gave President Clinton back when he was running for president the first time in 1992 as a candidate, he was involved in some issue regarding a young lady, Jennifer Flowers. And when he spoke about the issues, I saw something that I'd never seen before. I saw reporters get so excited that they could not even write. They had to put their pens and their papers down and just listen and become excited. And then somebody asked about that other issue, and then they started becoming reporters again and started writing. And my advice was, you don't ever spend more than 30 seconds on a bad issue, and you spend the rest of the time, the other 5 minutes, talking only about the things that are important to your vision. And what Republicans have been able to do with some of the Democrats, to my chagrin, is to get them to respond to and spend most of their airtime talking about these culture wars instead of about the vision that the Democrats have. The Democrats need to, if they're going to talk about a culture issue, give it 10 seconds or 20 seconds at the most, but say, but this is what I really want to talk about. Here are the things that are important to the people that I represent. A person who is elected has a job. Their job is to represent the people that voted, that are in their districts, not whether they voted for them or not. And so you listen to these issues, but you spend your time and use your judgment to focus on the things that are most important. If someone like a lobbyist, for example, who is hired to deal with a special interest, can distract you from taking care of your job, you know what the lobbyist says about that? The lobbyist says, that's not my fault. That's a problem with you, elected official. I'm focused on my job. You can focus on your job. I'm asking you for just a couple of minutes. But if I can take up all of your time with my issue, that's a problem with you. So our job as constituents and as voters is to find the people who will be able to focus on what's important first. And to the extent that you vote for someone who's talking about a cultural issue, a cultural war that makes no difference in your life, and you actually vote for that person, you are preordaining your own demise when you do that. So keep in the forefront as a voter what's most important to you. Find a person who's running for office that is going to stay focused on what is important to you. And then if you're able to turn out in large enough numbers to get those kinds of people elected, you can actually change your life.
We have seen in the past that with a government that is totally Republican in Florida, governorship is in the hands of the Republicans. The legislature has a supermajority. Technically, the power of the Democrats to change anything, to have any meaningful laws passed in the state of Florida, is quite a bit diminished. And I think there are different strategies that the Republican has employed as well, by importing lots of voters from richer states like California, like New Jersey. And then when they come down here, because of the policies that they have in terms of no state tax, property tax, now they're trying to eliminate property taxes and things like that. So lots of part of Florida has become red, and it's become redder every day. What kind of counteract, what kind of actions can we take on our side as Democrats to change that momentum and to give the Democrats an edge, a lead?
The quality of the candidate is really important in something like that. I hate to use myself as an example, but when I ran for office, there was a group called Republicans for Jones. It's the person, not the party. And so I was fortunate to have the support of significant Republicans, I admit it, back in 1990. But even when you're a red state, and Florida was a red state during the last part of my time, from 1994 to 2002, Florida was a red state. What did we accomplish while Florida was a red state? Well, for me in particular, we were able to pass the Rosewood Bill, which gave African Americans who were massacred in the town of Rosewood back in 1923 reparations. There were still 13 people alive in their 70s and 80s that we gave them over $1 million as reparations and scholarships to all of their heirs. We were able to get that done. It's the first time it was done in American history. We got the FAMU Law School back, when I was chairman of the Black Caucus by collaborating with the Hispanic Caucus, and the legislature told us that only one law school was going to happen at a time. They wanted FIU, and the Black Caucus wanted FAMU to have law schools. And I got with Rudy Garcia, who was a state senator from Miami-Dade County and chairman of the Hispanic Caucus, and I was from Miami-Dade County, and we knew each other well. And I said, you know something, Rudy? If we work together, we can get both schools at the same time, both law schools. And we were successful in getting that done. We passed Bright Future Scholarships. I was a sponsor of Bright Future Scholarships as a Democrat. But then I got Jim Scott, who's a Republican and former chair of the president of the Senate, to be a co-sponsor of that as well. And we were able to get it done. Miami-Dade College was a Miami-Dade Community College and Broward Community College. We changed them into colleges. I worked with Senator Don Sullivan from St. Petersburg, and he was chairman of the Elections Committee, and I was the sponsor of the bill. He was the sponsor of the bill, and it was my idea to get it started. But by sharing the credit, you can get almost anything done. And we were able to turn 27 community colleges in the state of Florida to colleges that offered not just 2-year degrees, but also 4-year degrees. And that brought Florida from 5th from the bottom in adults over the age of 26 that had any kind of college degree to, last time I looked, was number 35. Before we were 45. So we've raised the academic profile and the education level of the state of Florida from doing those things. And so if you're willing to work with other people, I was willing to go into a Republican senator's office unannounced and to have, and they wanted to know, well, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you about something. And so I don't see those things happening with my new colleagues who are now in the state legislature now. You've got to be willing to spend time talking to people and getting to know what their issues are and what your issues are. I was president designate of the Florida Senate in 1996. That you normally become a Democratic leader after that. I didn't want to become Democratic leader after that because I know that sometimes I'm willing to vote for a good idea if it comes from a Republican and it's going to help the state of Florida. But the Democratic leader's job is to just be in the opposition almost all the time, no matter what. So it depends on what kind of leadership you're willing to put forward and what you're trying to accomplish, and whether or not you're willing to share the credit when it comes along. And if you are, then you can get just about anything done.
Very well said, Senator Jones. From what I've gathered through your information, as you mentioned, with cultural war, it is a distraction.
Right.
It is a mind of game. Very well said. As you mentioned, if we follow cultural wars, like you had mentioned, it is preordained for our own demise. And that's exactly, I would say, that happened to the Haitian community, because that has been preordained from 2016 to now. That is fairly safe. I know before we leave, I know it's such a beautiful conversation we're having with you, Senator. As a strategist, what would you suggest for the Haitian community before you leave, since we are in the pit right now, to get out of it?
I don't know if how you're going to feel about this, but there are some very good fundamental strategies that I think everybody needs to think about. You've mentioned how people are afraid to leave their homes because of TPS expiring. And I think a couple of things. To the extent that there are Haitians in the community who are citizens who have not yet registered to vote, register to vote. If you're a citizen and you are registered to vote, under no circumstances would you not vote, no matter what the threat is. You need to go to the polls and or send out an absentee ballot and get that vote in when it's time to do it. We've got early voting that's going to pop up here next week, at least in Broward County. And not next week, week after next, in Broward County. And And so it's really important to make sure you vote. But here's another thing that maybe you are thinking about, maybe you're not. To the extent that some of the people here are deported, and if you're deported back to Haiti, Haiti right now is looking toward having elections in the upcoming season. And if there are going to be elections in Haiti, and if there are going to be valid elections, then that is an opportunity to change that country. And it's an opportunity. It's a long haul. It's not going to happen overnight. Just like changing Florida from red to blue is not going to happen overnight. It's a steady process that can happen over a decade, over 10 years, maybe. But same thing for Haiti. Haiti's a great country. I've been there several times. I went there twice with President Clinton. And I'm very impressed with the country. And I think that there's some really great opportunity there if the people who are sent back decide that they're going to make a change in that country as well. Because it's like LeBron James. LeBron James, who's a basketball player, started out at Cleveland, couldn't win an NBA championship. He came to Miami so he could learn from Pat Riley how to win an NBA championship. Won 2, then went back. Now he knows what to do, how to control the process so that his team can win an NBA championship. Won it for Cleveland.
I really like the analogies, Senator.
Yeah, in the same way you can do it here with Haiti.
Exactly.
Learn what to do in the United States, you can do it there.
This is what happened when I mentioned the 225th anniversary of Haiti's independence, because we need to capitalize on that
Right.
to change every cities and neighborhood in Haiti so that
Right.
less people have to come here, and like the retirees can go and retire in their country with their knowledge and their money to bring job, to create jobs and bring some changes. So even people who are being deported have no problem going back to their country. But what I would like to address more is the overconfidence of Democrats, because I've seen that especially with the last election with Kamala Harris, where Democrats kept on focusing on the ridiculousness of the issues that the Republicans were putting out, the culture wars. And Kamala Harris will think that, this is so ridiculous. There is no way that the Republican Party can win the elections. And what happened is that we didn't put enough out our vision, just like Clinton did, so that people could ignore the culture wars and vote for Democrats. So how do you think that Democrats can learn from that lesson?
I hope so.
And say, nobody is going to vote for that. And even the Republicans, they are so ashamed when the polling come, the poll work, and when they do polling, they said they're not going to vote for the Republican candidate. And at the end of the day, they do. They don't want you to know because the issues are so ridiculous. So how can the Democrat learn from that and start using the Republican playbook to do the same?
I don't know if I like the Republican playbook, but I think we should have our own. I'm not for imitating corruption. I'm not for that. But I do think that honest thinking elected officials can do a good job and can tell people how they can do a good job. And as long as they stay focused on that, I think people will vote for them. And you just have to decide what type of elected official you're going to be.
Senator Darrell Jones, it was a pleasure to have you on our platform, Time Out 360. This platform is open to you anytime you desire. This is a great channel to communicate with the Haitian diaspora, with the Haitian American in South Florida. And I would like to give you a chance to give some information about yourself if anybody wants to reach out to you, if anybody wants to continue the conversation with you.
Well, I'm totally retired now. So you can read, I can give you my email address, dljones487 dljones487@aol.com. That's dljones487@aol.com. Anyone who would like to send me an email there, that'd be fine. I'm not really active on social media.
Thank you, Mr. Senator, for being with us.
The senator said he's retired. Also, he's a colonel, and also he's a strategist. I don't think the strategist is retired. You have much to give. We appreciate your expertise and your knowledge, because you definitely strategize, as you mentioned, when you say preordain certain things that's coming up in the future. You know what you're talking about. Well, we appreciate you, Senator Jones. We look forward to have you again in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-Marie. Thank you, Jay. It's a real pleasure spending time with you guys.
Thank you, sir. Alors, nous tous comprenons en pile, en un mot, l'argent nous là que sénateur ou ancien colonel de Air Force qui parlait avec nous. Ou elle est monsieur d'où les préordonnent. Les mounons d'où préordonnent, c'est que, ouais, étant que Jean nous a pas agi, l'on série ou qu'on est vieux causé nous mettez en tête nous. Jean nous prend bagay la personnel et nous elle parle nous l'elle pour faire décision les garder si effort là qui ça va aider le plus grand nombre, les garder effort communautaire, les pas garder effort individuel par nous-mêmes nous gain sens garder individuel par nous, ça veut dire si même moi pas joindre communautaire mais mourir ça fait garder communautaire, c'est moi pour joindre. C'est le dossier ça qu'il faut reconnaître là. La communauté à la position nous y est à la counière qu'il faut ça nous était pensé que t'es champion qui était dans les bras champion en 2016 là monsieur Do parle de prix Orden il prend depuis 2016 oui depuis 2016 nous fait mauvais vote oui nous connaissons les Clinton des problèmes oui mais nous devons choix oui nous pas comprendre nous penser que nous bravons bon choix et fini s'il vous plaît les Clinton que ce soit les Clinton de des problèmes, il y a une Clinton qui même lui demande pardon. Et quand il y a la champion, il pas faire, même à l'éternel, il dit pas faire l'éternel aucune faute, sur les parents rien pour demander pardon à personne. C'est la condition ça qu'il faut, je ne suis pas allé à distraction nous prend. Depuis 2016, nous prenons distraction. Oui, nous prenons bonne distraction. Nous faisons un pile tintin. Parce que faut pour nous battre l'estomac, nous, genre, les catholiques, on comprend grand même. C'est ma faute, c'est ma très grande faute. Faut pour nous battre l'estomac, nous, c'est ma faute, c'est ma très grande faute. Oui, faut pour nous pas faire ça, non. Faut pour nous demander pardon tout, oui. Parce que c'est nous-mêmes qui mettons 350 000 personnes dans le pétrin que je dis.
Nous comprenons, Jean-Marie, parce que si vous regardez la situation bien, c'est pas aujourd'hui à notre distraction, même si je mentionné là tout à l'heure là, depuis sous Dukakis avec Willie Horton, Tugboat avec John Kerry, nous toujours sortis pour nous prendre une distraction. Et candidat tout prendre une distraction parce que au lieu candidat lui-même parler bail sérieux, il y a pas on dans le bagage qui pas aucun rapport avec need et voteur. Donc nous par exemple Mamdani en tant que maire de New York, nous que gouverneur Virginia comme il était fait gagner, c'est parce que yo ignorait toute mauvaise distraction ça yo concentré sur affordability, yo concentré sur prix manger, sur la vie chère, sur inflation. Et je pense que ces candidats qui yo obligé faire même bagage même d'anité faire, même bagage gouverneur et Virginia faire, mais qu'on tape en vite nous-mêmes voteurs as well for nous capable d'identifier qui ça qui est important pour nous. Ou pas qu'attendre monde qui dit pour appliquer agenda 2025, ou monde qui dit pour déporter monde, il pour dire pour date pour dire ou pour voter pour lui parce que lui contre abortion. One single issue voters. En d'autres termes que ou ignorer ni communauté là, ou ignorer tout l'autre ni ou seulement mettre un seul bagage devant tout abortion. Donc, nous-mêmes, dans la communauté, c'est ça les distractions. Il faut nous éviter distractions, ça, please. Donc, gardez ça important pour vous. Gardez les gens qui parlent de ces ni de communauté, et then, c'est à partir de là pour dire, mais pour qui est-ce moi pour le voter. Et même, je ne fais que ça dire tout à l'heure là, il faut que tout, nous enregistrons pour voter, souvent enregistrons pour voter, nous fait voter. OK? Il faut que tout ou encourager mon travail ou l'église ou sous quartier la ou dans famille. Et nous dit surtout dans famille, surtout Gen Z ingénieur et qui totalement disconnected, qui totalement disengaged, c'est job nous mêmes pareil pour nous encourager.
Définitivement, Louis, et moi, je m'encourage nous, mes amis, et pour nous apprendre qu'on vote qu'on candidat. Et si nous pouvons enregistrer pour nous voter, faire ça qu'on y a là. Il y a un primary qui a fait le 18 août et enregistré online, soit qui j'ai pour faire, relais-nous dans Computer Games dans 754-271-1409, 754-271-1409. Si vous avez plus d'informations sur le candidat, relais Haitian American Democratic Club dans 754-271-1391, 754-271-1391. Nous gagnons des gens, des personnalités importantes qui ont connaissance, qui sont capables de nous informations dans bon timamite. Nous avons fait mauvais choix il y a presque 2 ans de cela. Ce qu'on y a, nous pas arrêter pour nous faire un autre mauvais choix encore. Nous pas gagner droit ça. Nous connaissons pile monde qui a parlé de monde qui est rentré dans le programme Biden, comment monde ça venu, comment ils ont dérespecté pas bon ici, comment ils pas une bonne expérience avec monde qui est rentré dans Biden yo. Mes amis, à nous mettre ça sous côté. À nous mettre ça sous côté et moi connais très bien que c'est difficile. L'autre une famille, aux amis, ma tante, ou frère, ou soeur, côté rempli papier pour nous faire sacrifice, ou faire rentrer et puis les rentrer pas bon ici. C'est désastre civil mener la carreau, les rentrées pas bon ici, pas bon respect. Même moi assiette, il pas laver, même moi assiette de manger, il pas laver, les d'ab du comme ça que il pas bonne, il pas paix et rien dans caille. On nous met ça sous côté, on nous met ça sous côté, on nous met ça sous côté, m'a dit encore, on nous met ça sous côté. Moi dis ça 3 fois, moi dis ça 4 fois. On nous met ça sous côté. On nous gourmet pour la communauté, nous pas capable de tête nous pas capable de qui gens nous te faire rentrer dans Biden pour là, qui gens été maltraité nous, on nous garde de préférence comment nous capable faire communauté à progresser économiquement, politiquement et socio-économique.
Mais pour capitaliser sur ce dia ingénieur, économiquement surtout, nous supposons ranger quoi nous pour nous avoir certains pouvoirs économiques et nous ranger quoi nous pour nous nous investi dans le pays, nous dans une zone qui peut gagner pour nous empêcher de rentrer dans la zone. Alors, et façon pour nous faire ça, il faut nous succès sur le ici là. Ou pas dire qu'on ne pas aider dans le pays alors que pas ici là, ou pas camper sur rien. Donc, il faut que, sous mon cas, pour ranger corps, pour soit perdu cas dans foreclosure, pour contacter nous dans 786 368 23 37 pour nous capables d'aider pas perdre du cas là parce qu'il y a plusieurs programmes tant que short sale, tant que loan modification, tant que forbearance, tant que reverse mortgage, tant que refinancing, line of credit. Il y a plusieurs programmes qui pourront empêcher de perdre du cas là parce que surtout si vous n'avez pas qu'à travailler encore à cause de situation légale ou bien que ou pas même qu'à conduire même. Ça ne pas supposer attendre si les envoyer papier foreclosure pour vous, c'est les soit contacter nous. Mais même si vous envoyez papier foreclosure sur, même si vous allez dans le tribunal déjà, relez-nous, il y a un pile moyen, un pile voie pour pas perdre du cas là. Et spécialement sur un petit grand monde, bon gros programme de pour petit grand monde qui un pile monde pas comprendre qui c'est reverse mortgage là, c'est pour petit grand monde qui vient 62 ans ou plus, mari pas là, petit monde pas là pour payer mortgage là, un pile monde dit oh banque la va saisir cas là ou bien l'État va saisir cas là, c'est pas vrai. Son programme est mis pour aider nous et d'ailleurs avant d'entrer dans reverse mortgage, l'État mettait un counselor qui est certifié par l'État pour avoir toute explication pour montrer que toute information by n'est pas vraie. So, ou même qui vont qui tombe dans la foreclosure, mais qui peut tomber dans la foreclosure, relève-nous pour qu'il y ait un pouvoir économique communautaire. 786 368 23 37 786 368 2337 et n'a dit nous pas oublier tout dans le pouvoir économique là faut qu'on ait technologie et faut faire taxe chaque année de façon que ou capable l'autre besoin appliquer pour bagage yo mande tax return ou bien bon tax return pour présenter.
Oui, c'est ça. Merci beaucoup, professeur Louis. On connaît les très important que nous comprenions le pouvoir économique, non? Parce que c'est un aspect que le candidat noir, sénateur Jones, lui parlait. Il était chita dans le restaurant, il était 3 devant lui, toutes ces 3, et foreigners, immigrants, et qui étaient millionnaires. Ouais, les 12 ans qui étaient problème. C'est pouvoir économique là. Et qu'on y a une faille qui fait, des réunions qui fait sur Bagay TPS, et quelques semaines de cela, bon, des fait réunion en tant que lui-même, les rencontrer avec des républicains pour lui joindre ça le besoin pour communauté par là. Nous-mêmes, nous n'avons pas de problème rencontrer un républicain qui souvent fait deal pour communauté, pas pour individuel tête, proche fort, non, pour communauté, là, c'est ça le besoin. C'est ça qui passe qu'il faut, elle est très important pour nous comprendre, pour ne pas quitter distraction passée. Distraction pratique, non. Pour nous garder, chercher qui ça, même seulement à joindre. Depuis nous l'avons pensé, mais même seulement à joindre, ça veut dire you don't care about the others. Ça veut dire communauté a pas mis rien parce que c'est proche seulement gardé depuis mon forme. Et comme ingénieur, Jason parlait d'aller, bon, on comprend, oublier ça qui passait avec T. Biden qui a nos problèmes, voter en 2024. Nous votons mal depuis en 2016, oui. Depuis 2016, nous votons mal. 2016, ça traîne nous, côté nous, yécounir.
On va pour nous comprendre un peu. Et la communauté, nous pas faire volontaire pour candidat. Les on vient faire fundraising, n'a pas chèque $5, $10. Et ça c'est pouvoir économique. Là, on a un candidat qui est dans la communauté. Il sortit à 50 000, 20 000 ou bien $200 000. La respecter communauté ça. Mais là,
faut nous voter.
Faut nous supporter, non seulement par vote, nous, mais encore tout pour faire volontaire, nous frapper porte, nous faire fundraising, qui n'a pris les gens dans le téléphone. Et ceci pour nous faire ça, nous carrer Asian American Democratic Club of Day dans 786 368 23 37 786 368 2337. Que candidat haïtien, que pas haïtien, tant pris, faire sentir nous et contribuer dans by donation dans la campagne, faire sentir nous volontaire dans la campagne, faire sentir nous à voter.
Définitivement, on avait conclu avec Moussa et aller voter parce que vote là c'est plus gros pouvoir que nous gagnons pas bon ici. Et quel que soit résentiment que vous avez dans le cœur, mettez sous côté, priez bon Dieu, demandez pardon pour tout ça, côté fait qui pas bien, et puis on nous corriger erreur qui te commettent. Et si vous avez aide, si vous avez qui gens pour voter, si vous avez qui gens pour changer registration de républicain à démocrate, si vous avez changer qui gens pour registration de indépendant à démocrate, relez-nous dans Haitian American Democratic Club 754 271 1391. Et si vous avez une classe computer, vous avez retiré tête dans les affaires analphabète moderne, rentrer dans la technologie, apprendre AI pour capable gagner un bon job, pour capable gagner un bon business, pour cap grandi, pour capable faire comme changer situation économique pour relais-nous dans computer bargain dans 754 271 1409. 754 271 1409.
Pour la fête taxe là, c'est simplement 754 246 34 06. Nous allons commencer avec classe taxe là pour nouvelle année. Pas dit position par moi. Expert de comptable 754 246 34 06. C'est ça, oui, à voter. Au bon, le premier monde qui dit nous voter, c'est Jacques Despinois. Là, ça, Haïtien, pas même veut voter, il veut voter, comme en Haïti, caché, fait bien fait, acheter bœuf, acheter cabrit, on comprend, il pas voter. Mais comme là, si nous pas voter, nous pas arrêtable là, il y a manger nos couilles.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Et même si les républicains votent démocrate.
This is WSRF 1580 AM W258CZ 99.5 FM, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Palm Beach, and